And for the candidates that are on the call, thank you guys for joining us live and welcome once again. We will record this session so that if you guys want to reference it and take a look at it later to digest the information, I'll definitely share the link to the recording on video. So we'll do that for you. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So my name is Will Moss. Welcome. I'm the founder and CEO of HBCUconnect.com. I am the one that has been sending out a lot of the communication that you guys have received regarding this event. So thank you guys for responding and joining us for this presentation from ServiceNow. So we're going to actually introduce the company, ServiceNow, but let me go ahead and quickly share with you the agenda for the evening so that you guys know what to expect right up front. Okay, so first things first, I'll do a quick introduction on HBCU Connect, our relationship with ServiceNow and the opportunity for you guys, followed by a keynote presentation from Sheikh on the team from ServiceNow. He's going to actually give background about the company and touch on the internship program, and then we're going to get to know him a little bit better. So looking forward to that. And then following the keynote, I'll introduce you guys to everyone from the team at ServiceNow that has taken the time out of their schedule to share their opportunities with you. So that will be a really interactive discussion where I'll bring out some talking points for each of the team members so that you guys get to know them better, so that if you have questions for specific team members, you can ask those questions directly to them through the chat window. And also we'll have a Q&A session, so don't worry if your question doesn't get answered in the chat during the presentation. I'll be reading your questions from the chat in the Q&A session so we can have some interactivity with our guests from ServiceNow. So we'll meet the team members, then we'll have a quick panel discussion, which will be a conversation between HBCU Connect and ServiceNow. So I've got some really good questions so that you guys can get to know the company culture a little bit better, what life is like at ServiceNow, some good things to dig into that. So then after the panel discussion between HBCU Connect and ServiceNow, on behalf of you, the candidates, we will get into the live Q&A to allow you guys to ask questions to the ServiceNow team. So, and after that, we'll do some next steps. So if you're interested in landing an internship with ServiceNow, we'll speak to what you need to do next to land that internship, okay? So without further ado, let me go ahead and get into a little bit about myself. Like I said, my name is Will Moss from HBCU Connect. Started the company a long time ago. I went to Hampton University, graduated with a computer science degree, thought it would be a great idea to create a social network for students and graduates of HBCUs. And we launched the website. And then organically, we got involved in helping companies to recruit the talent that we had in our database. So in comes you guys. And like I said, welcome to this event. The opportunity for you at this event, this is a real opportunity with a real company that is looking for diverse candidates. They've taken the time out to review your resumes. They've taken the time out of their schedule during the day to present themselves and present their company. So these are real opportunities for you guys to take advantage of. So really pay attention, listen up, and take advantage. So I know you guys didn't come to hear me speak. So I'm going to introduce our first speaker from ServiceNow. And actually, Sheikh Kamara is originally from Bamako, Mali. College experience, went to Washington State University with a bachelor's in finance and has been at ServiceNow for 2 years and is a senior director, strategy and operations for the platform. So welcome. And without further ado, I'll hand it over to you and turn off my slides so folks can see you.
Thank you, Will. Thank you, everyone, for joining today. So like you said, my name is Sheikh Kamara. I've been at ServiceNow for about 2 years. I'm originally from Mali. Hopefully some of you guys know where that is. We do claim Timbuktu. So if you're heard of Timbuktu, that's where Mali is, as a reference. I've been at ServiceNow, like I said, for 2 years. I took a very untraditional path in terms of getting into tech. I went to school for finance. I wanted to be a money manager. I wanted to work on Wall Street, which I did for a couple of years. And I absolutely hated the hours, the grind, just the amount, the work itself I just did not like. So I Slowly transitioned from finance to I worked for private equities for a little bit, and then moved to California 12 years ago now was my wife, and that's how I kind of got into tech. So I've had to kind of I took a very untraditional path to tech. Since I came to ServiceNow because a friend of mine who's the chief product officer said, "Hey, this is an amazing company that you should join. It's growing super fast, and there's tons of things to do." So when I came to ServiceNow, my job didn't exist, right? So prior to ServiceNow, I worked for a company called Veritas, which is in the backup and storage space, and I was the chief of staff to the CEO. So I worked for the CEO for a couple of years, running operations, running large programs. Eventually, he retired and decided to leave the company. When I got to ServiceNow, my job didn't exist. So when I met with my boss now, he was like, "What do you do? Explain to me what's your value." So I sold him on this vision of, "Hey, this is what we can do from a strategy and operations standpoint." What is strategy and operations, right? So strategy and operations for me means four specific things. In my world, the operations piece is planning your resources. So if you think of an engineering team, we have about 800 people or so. Who do we hire? Where do we hire them? What's the hire to retire strategy, right? We want you to have an amazing experience from the moment we talk to you until the moment you retire or the moment you decide to leave ServiceNow. What is that strategy and what does that look like? That's step one in terms of operations. Step two is around technical program management. So I have a team of technical program managers that are embedded with engineers that work on our products. So if you guys are familiar with ServiceNow, we've been around for 15, 16 years now. We started as an IT service management tool. Hopefully you guys know what that is. So IT service management is probably the unsexiest thing there is to technology, but the most valuable thing there is to technology, right? So if you ever call any company and there's a service agent that answers the phone in the back end, he uses an IT service management tool to track what you want, what you need, and how to resolve your issues. So that's where ServiceNow started, right? And what we've done since then is we've taken that platform and expanded it to own the full employee experience. So when you think of the employee experience, we think about the work that employees have to do when they come to work. So whether you're someone like me who lives in engineering operations, so the work that I do is mostly PowerPoint, Excel, I live in meetings and so forth. What are the things I need to do as a manager? I need to approve pay time off. I need to approve reports. I need to access people's vacations. How do we simplify that experience for employees like myself? So we created an amazing mobile app, which is very new to kind of the enterprise space, because everything in the enterprise world lived on your computer. So we created an experience on your phone for you to be able to accomplish most of your tasks. So think of that as kind of my employee experience. On the back end, we also have the fulfiller experience. So that's for the IT service professional who lives on the back end and has to approve everything that I do, right? So when I go and I approve a report, someone has to go through and it has to link to like Workday or Concur to approve all the expenses. So what we've done is we've created different experiences for all different personas in tech to be able to simplify the work that you do. So that's what ServiceNow does. Why is it such an amazing company? So our retention rate is something like 99.8%. That means once people buy ServiceNow, they never ever leave, right? It is a very, very sticky product. It's a product that saves you a lot of money. It's a product that is super critical to your infrastructure, and people never, never leave. So we've landed in a lot of enterprise companies, and now it's the land and expand. So now we're going into finance management, HR management, and all these other areas. But essentially, we just keep growing and growing. Our goal currently is to get to 10 billion. We're currently a little bit above 3 billion or so, and we have a clear path to get there. Back to what my team does. So I have a team of technical program managers that work on some of these products that I've told you about. They're embedded within teams, and their goal for a program manager standpoint is to make sure we deliver things on time, on budget, there's visibility, we track statuses. Think of the day-to-day life of a program manager. That's area number two. Area number three, I have a couple of architects that manage the platform that we build. So as you build new products, you have to make sure we're able to integrate it with our current platform. So I have a couple of architects that are on the technology side that just make sure we're able to integrate those products. And last but not least, we have something called operational excellence, right? So operational excellence for a company of 800 people is your ability to continuously look at how you operate and improve it over and over and over. We have grown faster than all our processes can keep up with. And what I mean by that is when I joined ServiceNow, my team was 190 people or so. As of this morning, we're on 800 or so, right? So, we're growing way faster than any processes can keep up with. So we have a team of people that are there to look at processes to really make our engineers' life much easier. From how we use agile to things like CI/CD pipeline to just looking at general developer productivity and trying to improve that. That's another big part of what my team does. In terms of the things that I love about ServiceNow, it's the ability to affect change, right? So as you guys look for internships and you look for jobs, you want to go into a company where you can influence the work that's being done, right? We're growing super fast. There's a ton of opportunities, and we're looking for young people to come in and say, you guys have been doing this way, and it's great, but I can do it better, and there's a better way. And if you show me a better way, I will take the better way and implement it. You want to work for a company where you can make a difference, where you can have kind of your fingerprints on what the company does. And that's why I'm here at ServiceNow. And that's why I'm excited to kind of have you guys here today. Now, with that said, I will turn it over to.
Actually, let me ask you a couple of questions about just to get to know you better. So the candidates, as they formulate their questions for later on in the conversation, they know a little bit more about you. So how did you end up working for ServiceNow? What was your path to ServiceNow?
Like I said, a good friend of mine who's the chief product officer called me when I was at my old company and was like, "Hey, we need people like you at ServiceNow. We're growing faster than we can keep up with." And he gave me like a very unconventional pitch, right? He was like, "I'm not going to tell you all the things that work well. I'm going to tell you all these things that are broken." And he gave me a list of things that were broken, and he's like, "These are the things you like doing, so you should come here and help us fix it," right? That's kind of how he sold me the job. And when I came, I was like, okay, I'm going to tell you the value that I provide to the company, but more importantly, these are the areas where I can help, and I want to be plugged into all these areas that are broken so I can make a difference. So that's how I was sold ServiceNow.
And so what's the pitch, if you would say, to an intern that's considering various internship opportunities, why ServiceNow? What would you tell an intern?
It's very easy, right? So I think as you look at internship opportunities, you want a company that's stable, a company that's growing, a company that's going to have amazing opportunities, and more importantly, a company that's on the leading edge in terms of technology. So if you look at like the unicorns, the companies that have gone public lately, from the Salesforce to Google to Facebook, all doing really well, but they've all gotten to a point that now they're slowing down. We're still growing 40% year over year. My biggest problem every year is finding people to hire because we're growing so fast and we have so many new customers that I don't have enough people to actually do the work. So as you come in, ServiceNow is a company where you can come and, like I said, have an imprint on what we're going to do going forward. Like my team will tell you, I don't have all the answers. I don't pretend to have all the answers, right? I'm looking for you to come in to be smarter than me and help me find the answers and help us solve these big problems, because we do have big problems. All our customers are very large customers. The Walmart, the Disney's, I think we're at something like 80% of the Fortune 500 company, but it's very large cap companies that have very big problems that we're trying to solve.
Can you rattle off some of the companies that candidates might recognize? And is there like a suite of products that they access, or is there one core product for ServiceNow that these companies that's driving the growth?
So we sell everyone on IT service management, right? Every company out there has IT service management. If you have employees, you have IT service management, because whether they have to request a computer, request vacation, all that is routed to our service management. In terms of our top companies that you might know, like I said, Walmart, Amazon, Facebook, Disney Plus is one of our biggest customers, and I'll give you kind of a use case, right? So Disney Plus went live last year. I think it was either late last year or early this year. And when they went live, they were our first, call it B2C customers. So if you go on Disney Plus and you click on that little chat button,
Okay.
anything that answers in that back end is ServiceNow,
Okay.
right? So
Yep.
we are not only are we the chat button in the back, but we're the AI tool that automatically either answers your questions or writes you to, or routes you to a human being.
Perfect.
Like those are the problems that we try to solve for large customers.
Perfect. Excellent. So appreciate that that sort of high level overview of the company, your path to the company. I'm sure there will be some questions from the candidates. But without further ado, unless you have anything else, I'll go ahead and introduce our next speaker.
Thank you.
All right, so let me pull up my slides so that I can give you guys a view and introduce Jack appropriately. So once again, thanks everybody that's joined in so far. We really appreciate you joining us today. We are presenting ServiceNow and the internship opportunities that they have available, getting to know their team. And so next up, the next speaker we have that's taking the time out, and this is a pretty cool story. I found out Jack Robinson was actually a member of HBCU Connect, from a long time ago, from the time he was a high school student and utilized HBCU Connect. So that kind of hit home with me. But let me introduce Jack Robinson, who's our next speaker. We'll talk a little bit about what he does at ServiceNow and his perspective. But Jack is a senior production service engineer, originally from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Attended the HBCU Miles College, majoring in computer information sciences. Also attended Kentucky State. This is another HBCU. A member of Phi Beta Sigma, and I got a gentleman on my team that's moderating for us. He's also Phi Beta Sigma. Shout out to Reggie. But 4 years now at ServiceNow, so he's probably got some good experience he can share. And like I said, he's been an HBCU Connect member since 2008. So welcome, Jack. I'll go ahead and focus the video on you and take down my slides.
Hello, thank you so much. It's an honor to be here, really. My role specifically, I work on the internal aspects of ServiceNow. So I don't deal directly with the customers, but I help my colleagues do their job better in terms of how they develop or troubleshoot problems that may occur. So the department I work in is Site Reliability Engineering, or SRE. It's like a updated version of DevOps, slightly more development, I think. However, my job specifically automates processes that people tend to repeat over and over again. So for example, if say we have a Disney, one of their servers needs some type of maintenance on it. One of the SRE engineers would typically work to fix it in a way, and that kind of would be too repetitive. And my job would be to find a way to automate that. And I use a variety of technologies along with our platform, to make that happen. So I'm using, JavaScript, Python, for all you data scientists out there. And really knowing the platform, it allows me to help make the job of my peers a lot better. So it's continuous improvement. That's the sole purpose of my job, and I absolutely love it. I didn't know something like that exists. I typically just thought it was just you code this object-oriented thing and that's it. However, when you are tasked to help make someone's job easier, because it's just, again, like Chuck said, we have almost too much work, really. And part of what I'm doing is just helping to make that easier. And it's pretty fun. I enjoy it. Coming from Milwaukee, I didn't have a privileged background. So I really had to experiment a lot. I started out trying to learn programming on my own, and I eventually taught myself how to learn just through trial and error. And that eventually led me here at ServiceNow through their recruiter, actually. And it was a pretty good experience. The technical interviews really is what I think is a big defining factor and kind of a wall between our community and the tech industry. And it's one of the reasons I'm here talking with you to somewhat bridge that gap. I just feel like a lot of the colleges do, because of how much technology expands, it's really hard to keep up with just the need of all the private industries here. So I've been at ServiceNow for about 4 years now. Actually just celebrated 4 years
Congratulations.
earlier this month. Thank you, appreciate it. And along the way, it's been a heck of a ride. You know, I didn't come here as a developer. I was one of the engineers that just pressed the button to fix this thing. And I got tired of pressing that button to fix that thing. And I started teaching myself ways to do the job for me. And that gave me more time to learn and educate. So I really love to learn. It's important to be a developer anyway. And of course, competing with people coming from college that have degrees, you have to find ways to distinguish yourself among your peers, you know, while not belittling them, but just showing that you are a unique individual and your perspective matters. So
where are you currently located? What location are you in?
I'm in West Coast, Menifee, but it's like right between San Diego and LA. So I like, it's like right in the middle.
So
Still have to deal with traffic, but it's not that bad.
So can you speak to, I want to kind of share with candidates your experience through the interview process. What did the interview process look like for you? And then the onboarding process. So like what candidates can expect as far as that's concerned.
Sure. The technical, well, usually when it comes to engineering roles, there are layers of interviews. You usually have your introducing yourself. That's like the technical, or not technical, but the what the recruiter would, that's like the first interview. You're introducing yourself, your experience. And then there's the technical interview where you have to prove what you know. So if you put Java on your resume, you have to be prepared to back that up. And they will test you on site. So for me, I had to do a lot of whiteboarding. So they'll ask me a problem. I would solve it on a whiteboard, just giving a rough overview of what it is. In the past, I've had to actually code in front of engineers before. So it varies, but you always should be ready for a technical interview. So understanding data structures and algorithms, very important, very important. It not only makes you a better developer, but it almost guarantees that you can get the job. I don't say fully guarantee, only because, I mean, there may be a like one-off case where it's not like that, but more often than not, if you can prove you know not only just a language, but how to program, then you can write your ticket anywhere. And why I chose ServiceNow is because we provide a lot of the back-end work for a lot of what I see physically. You know, so it's not just like Walmart. We have different banks as well, government branches. You know, that's very huge. Again, I don't interact with the customers directly, but all the problems they have, I'm part of the team. My team and I, we fixed those issues. And there's a lot of satisfaction in that. So the onboarding process was really helping me understand anomaly detection, how to respond fast and be efficient. Speed and efficiency was really taught and embedded to me. You know, luckily I had a good mentor, but the ServiceNow really puts your career in your hands. And again, I started from just a operations engineer, and I wanted to code more. And so I did just that. And we would have competitions where where they would collect ideas, you know, about how to make their process better. So notice this is a recurring concept of constantly making something better, continuous improvement. They are very open to ideas, new ideas, especially if you have thought them out and are willing to put the work in executing it. And those competitions, I won a couple of them, and it really got my name and, out there, and people started looking, okay, hey, we can use him on our team, or you can do this and that. And my position was somewhat created as well, specifically because of the department I'm in. They don't have a lot of developers or engineers that can help automate a lot of their processes. And I mean, it can be really, it can be a lot. It's a lot of pressure, but I do like that, especially competing, in sports. So it translates well here.
It sounds like you would make a good technical mentor for an intern.
Oh yeah, I'm all about it. I really don't count. To me, success is defined by your ability to teach what you know.
Excellent.
You can't really say you're successful if you can't teach it to someone else or articulate it back out into the real world, because then it's just internal knowledge, and what good is that really?
Excellent, man. I appreciate you taking the time out to kind of talk about what you do there at ServiceNow, the process to getting to ServiceNow. So unless you have anything else, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to our next speaker, which is Justin. Okay, cool. So let me pull up my slides so I can introduce Justin appropriately. So we have Justin Bethune. Let me get to my next slide here. So welcome, Justin. And for everybody that's tuned in, thanks again for tuning in to this presentation of ServiceNow, hosted by HBCU Connect. Our next speaker is Justin Bethune, who's a senior university recruiter for business recruiting, originally from Oakland, California. College experience with St. Mary's College of California, International Relations and Affairs, Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, Masters in Aeronautical Aviation, Aerospace and Technology. And a cool thing we learned yesterday is that Justin's great grandmother is Mary McLeod Bethune, founded Bethune-Cookman University. So roots in the HBCU space, been at ServiceNow for almost a year. So welcome, Justin. Without further ado, I'll hand it over to you.
Hey, Will. Thanks so much for the intro. Yes, and my name is Justin Bethune. I'm really excited to be here today. This is a very personal thing to me and my family and my heritage. And just to kind of recap on that, so my name is Justin McLeod Bethune. My father is Albert McLeod Bethune III, and my grandfather is Albert Jr., which is Mary McLeod Bethune's son. So it's a very direct connection to that legacy and that heritage. And so with that, I'm excited to be here and talk to you about my experience at ServiceNow, what I find awesome about where we're going, our company, and also a little bit about our internship. I can also post a couple links to the current jobs that we're going to be recruiting for in the chat for everyone to take a look at. I'll also put in my email if anyone has any questions and then wants to follow up with me afterwards to make sure I can answer any questions that you may have. So my primary focus, I'm on the early career team at ServiceNow. I focus on new grad engineering and business roles. And I also focus on MBA roles as well. So anyone in their MBA program, I look to hire for those roles as well. And before ServiceNow, I spent about 6 years at Dropbox. So kind of from the standpoint of being in technology and the perspective, I've seen a lot. I've had a chance to go through an IPO with a tech company. And as Sheikh was mentioning, I think what's really exciting about what ServiceNow is going for the future is that, this COVID situation has really uncovered a lot of how we're going to be kind of living our lives in the future. And I think that's what's really unique. And we're seeing how important it is to digitalize certain work streams and workflows that companies have and that we need if we were ever to be in a situation like this. And I do think that this kind of remote situation will be here for a while, but our business is extremely healthy. Our opportunities are abundant, and I think that if you are looking to transform and come into the tech space, like this is an incredible opportunity. We have new leadership from a gentleman named Bill McDermott who came over from SAP. He grew the business at SAP from about 54 billion to I think about 150 billion. And so I think he's the right person to kind of lead us into that next chapter. He's got a lot of amazing, and if you ever want to just see his I think his leadership skills, go on to Google and just put in Bill McDermott, CNBC, and ServiceNow, and you'll see how just how effective of a communicator he is in telling us our story and our path to get to $1 billion in revenue, which is kind of the mission for us. So a little bit about our internship and what we did this past summer that was like really awesome and great. So we actually had to transition pretty much at the last moment to a digital or virtual internship. And luckily we were able to keep our internship. You know, I think there were a lot of companies out there that had to cancel and they didn't really have many options for a lot of the interns that they had hired for. But luckily we were able to transition and pivot and build an awesome experience even for folks that were remote. So our internship runs about 12 weeks. We have 2 different start dates. One's in May and then one is in June, depending on when people graduate. And I think what we wanted to do this summer was really try to build community, right? We wanted to make sure, how can we have people have an amazing experience and also still be at home? We wanted to make sure we sent people swag and they got to feel the company. And the way that we designed our events throughout the summer were pretty robust. We kind of had 3 pillars that we were trying to build on. One was kind of community, one was professional development, and one was kind of around social impact. And the way that we thought about that is, you know, we had a lot of different challenges this summer. So we had a volunteer challenge and we had a volunteer Zoom event where we wanted to get our interns involved in giving back and how can we create that. So we had some fundraising that we had pretty much like a contest where people could kind of fundraise and raise money to donate to a nonprofit. We did an event with the Second Harvest Food Bank where we got some tote bags together and we were able to make some donations to them. On top of that, from a social standpoint, you know, we had just coffee chats. You know, if you were assigned to a particular team, you know, we wanted to create some communication between those that you work with on the team and yourself, and just getting a feel of like, you know, your project and making those connections. We also had some movie nights. We did some really cool virtual movie nights where we had everyone in a Zoom call and we had someone cast a movie. So we kind of could build some community there and just kind of have fun and get to know folks. And then on the professional development side, we had a couple events that I thought were really cool in helping people actually leave the summer with real, actual, I guess, feedback and things that they can kind of grow with. And one is we had an executive speaker series. So we had about 5 different executive speaker series with a lot of our high-level execs, our VP of people, our head of product. And those were great because students could really get one-to-one time with these executives, ask them questions about their journey. So it was like a faux, I want to learn a little bit more about like their personal journey and how, you know, how they got to where they are. Just advice along the way. You know, as people are coming out of college, there's a lot of decisions that need to be made, and gathering data and information is really important in making those decisions. And we wanted to try to give that and facilitate that to a lot of the students. We did a resume workshop where everyone got partnered with a ServiceNow employee to kind of look over their resume and their LinkedIn to see what changes they can make and what updates they can do to really maximize how their social kind of components are benefiting or getting better. But I think in closing, you know, this internship opportunity this is real world, you know, real projects, you make real impact. And you have a mentor, you have a coach, you can work with your recruiter. And so I think a lot of people walked away this summer with an amazing time and amazing opportunity. You learned a lot. And that's what we want to do. We want to make sure that our opportunities are getting to a broad, diverse set of people and opportunities. So yeah, it was an awesome summer, and I'll close at that.
So just a couple of follow-up questions. First about you a little bit, and then some follow-up questions I have about the internship program.
Sure.
So about you, so how did you how did you find out about ServiceNow and then end up working at the company?
Yeah, sure. So actually it's similar to Sheikh. I actually had a friend that I worked with at a previous company reach out to me and approached me with the same kind of opportunity, saying, hey, you know, we have a lot of things that we're trying to build. And it's not very, I think, often you get an opportunity for a company that's been established for so long to actually like continue to have really deep impact. It's rare for a company that's been a decade old to like have these type of like kind of high ramping, still in a growth mode. I mean, I'm coming from a company where, it was a startup, with like 400 people, and we grew that, and I saw how fast that moved. And so it's quite interesting to see a company at our size and scale with the same kind of velocity that, a startup had that I was a part of before. So, and also I think the common denominator between both stories that Sheikh and I'm sharing is that connections are very important. Those relationships that you build all the time through anything are super important. Make sure you're not burning bridges. Make sure you're putting your best foot forward every day and working hard. You'll be surprised as you kind of, progress in your career, how you never know who's watching you. You never know how things might come full circle, and someone might reach out to you and say, hey, I remember that one time we worked together on a project, or you interned, or however big or small, your impact might be. It can still be super impactful for somebody that you interacted with.
So what's a typical day in the life like for Justin?
Oh man, typical day in the life. It really depends. My work typically mirrors the school year. So right about right now, as people going back to school, things are quite busy. We're trying to make sure our jobs get out into the world and make people aware that we're hiring. And then also, I think a lot of times, people are automatically drawn to a lot of the like bigger name tech companies. You got your Facebooks, your Googles of the world. And we've been, I think, under the radar for a long time. And part of my job is to communicate how effective of a company we are and how awesome of an opportunity is to come work here. So that's what I try to make sure I'm doing at all points throughout the day. And so, yeah, so as the school year kind of progresses, we kind of start the process of hiring, interviewing, and then as we move into the new year and as we start the summer, we start planning for the summer, making sure people have connected to certain teams or certain projects. And the summer is a little bit chiller than the school year, in that most of the time people are here, and I'm more in a support role of supporting students, making sure that they have resources and being connected to everybody.
So follow-up question for the internship program. How many interns would you say you guys hire in a summer period?
Oof. Yeah, it ranges, but it's upwards of 250 plus, depending, like if you take like every single kind of team, and we have roles that span kind of in like Shake's org, in IT and product. I also hire on the MBA side with marketing, corporate strategy. So it's up there. It's a large amount of folks that we're looking to bring in, close to 250, if
Wow.
not more.
So for all the candidates out there, I hope you guys heard that. They hire over 200, close to 250 interns every year. That's huge. And the fact that a company actually has an internship program is huge. But to hire that many interns is a big deal. So you guys make sure to take advantage of these opportunities. But I have some simple sort of logistical questions that I know will probably come up related to the internship program. But I'll ask those, if we have time, as far as once we get into the Q&A.
Perfect. And what I'll do for right now is I will put some links to those jobs in our chat right now, so people can go ahead and take a look and see a little bit more details of the roles that we're hiring for, and apply. And like you said, Will, we can open it up for additional questions a little later.
Perfect. Thank you, Justin.
Yeah.
So if you don't have anything further, let me go ahead and introduce our next speaker. Let's see here. Chris, are you ready, my man?
Hey, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little nervous.
Following all of this great, talent that ServiceNow has put together, I don't blame you. But let me go ahead and try to give you an appropriate introduction. So for everybody that's on the call, hang tight. We're gonna have a chance for you guys to ask questions towards the end. But if you do have questions, you can ask them in the chat, and maybe for the other ServiceNow team members that are not presenting, if you see questions that you can answer in the chat, feel free. But without further ado, let me introduce Chris Rogers, Senior Program Manager of Diversity and Inclusion, originally from Lakeland, Florida, college experience, University of Alabama, BS in Marketing, University of Alabama, Masters in Sports Management, also a member of the illustrious Kappa Alpha Psi, recently hired at ServiceNow. And Chris, if you want to go into your background, and your story and what you do there at ServiceNow. Welcome.
Yes. Thanks for having me. Like I said, I'm just recently here at new at ServiceNow, excited for the role. I think I just kind of just back up proud because I kind of got to tell that and kind of it'll segue to everything. So prior to ServiceNow, I ran the company called Tap Together System People, and my number one focus was helping inner city kids, first generation kids, get opportunities into college and then into the workforce. And also being at the University of Alabama, was on a national championship team under Coach Saban. So having that background, well, my job was to help NFL players do their philanthropy works in their inner city, in their communities. So like I come from that lens, and then now to be in the D&I space where my job is to help give minorities, underrepresented people opportunity, a foot space in the tech space, right? So it's just exciting. So to have the partnership with HBCU Connections, I just think we have tremendous opportunity to like cultivate this young talent that's out there, because for so long the conversation has been, how do I break into tech? What I got to do? And to be on the other side to really help usher in the young talent that's coming in here, I'm excited and love it. So that's why when Shake mentioned earlier, the company, mindset is like, yes, we here, we're growing, we're trying to go from 4 billion to 10 billion, and we know we can't do it. We need a diverse mindset and a diverse team to do that. That's why I'm just so excited to be a part. And I want to share a screen real quick because I know I'm gonna be quick. I'm not gonna screen y'all to death. So let me blow it up real quick. Can everybody see my screen? Hold on, let me see.
Yep.
Okay.
Zoom out a little bit.
Zoom out. Hold on, let me zoom out.
Put it in presentation mode.
Presentation mode. Insert. Present new slide. Man, you got me on. I'm zooming out. Okay. So quickly, for some people who may not be familiar with us, like originally from Florida, I now live in California, Santa Clara. That's between Oakland and San Francisco. That's where we base our headquarters, is in Santa Clara. But I just want to kind of just share this with you guys, just high level. In 2018, Ford rated us number one, the most innovative company. And as you see here, you see some of the companies over Salesforce, Tesla, Amazon, Netflix, Facebook, and et cetera. And then I just kind of just touch just what we mentioned earlier, some of our customers. You'll see we service Walmart, Amazon, Disney Plus, Zoom, Apple, University of Maryland, GE, and et cetera. And I just think, like, for context, when you really think about that, you start to think about like just how we touching so many people that you won't even realize we're touching. So it's a tremendous opportunity and company. And then also I want to highlight something, and I'm gonna come back. When you start to think about your next move and where you interning at, and some people like to say, hey, I want to go somewhere everybody knows where I'm at. But then I tell people, we want the people who are going to go and do the research to realize how amazing this opportunity is, because we know what we have, but it's on you guys to realize and understand, like, man, I just realized they went from 10,000 employees, now they at 12,000, and they're talking about going from 4 billion to 10 billion. And then when you start looking at 97% renewal rate, that means, man, the product, what they having is amazing. The team is amazing. And then just on a New York Stock Exchange, right? Like, we're trading over $450 on New York Stock Exchange. So I just think that's just tremendous insight to let people know that, like, we just ain't started yesterday. We're not a startup. We've been around over 15 years. And I just wanted to share that. So I'm going to stop sharing. Stop sharing. So I just wanted to highlight that just for context for the people who may not be familiar with us. And it's okay that you may not be familiar with ServiceNow. That's why this information session is so important, so you can get to know us. And then also, like, we want to get to know you as well. So, like, in the chat box, I know we have everybody's resume. We saw it. But just feel free to kind of like jot down where you from. And like I say, this is a tremendous opportunity here at ServiceNow. And then also I'll talk more about my role. Two things I'd say that, like I said, I've been here less than a month, but one thing I think that I know that we're doing, we're having a mentorship program. So once we get you on board, we want to be able to cultivate that talent, and then also to retain you, and then to also grow and let you go to different places. So I think that's something we're real big on also, and then getting you in here and then what the brand awareness look like. So I'm just excited to be here. I kind of just stopped there because I really want to get to know the students. I don't want to take up the time. I just want to get to know them more than just talk about me.
Come on, man. We want to get to know you a little bit too. So what's your story? How'd you end up working at ServiceNow?
For me, it's kind of, so like I said, we was helping kids get to college for the last decade. We helped over 250 kids go to college. And when the pandemic happened, we had to kind of switch model. We weren't able to run programming. We was doing STEM program, all this other stuff. And then we kind of went around the world. We gave away 50 pounds of food to inner city across the country. So we hit Oakland, San Jose, DC, Baltimore, Birmingham, Florida. So like we was all over the world just doing this. And then LinkedIn, the power of social media, the power of friends, the power and somebody kind of connected me, and I kind of just story went from there. So like I tell young people, like what Justin hit on earlier, you never know who's watching you. You never know who you talking to. And one conversation led to the next. I'm here at ServiceNow. So yeah, man, it's amazing.
Cool. So a couple things I want to bring in.
Can I jump in?
Sure.
Yeah.
That's right. So I think Chris is being modest. So I've hired a lot of people in my life. Chris is the most prepared candidate that's ever shown up for an interview. And I have the most difficult team in terms of like the people that were interviewed. They interviewed Chris and they were like, you should hire him today. So he's being modest in terms of connections and so forth. He did the work, he did the homework, he showed up to the interview super prepared, and that makes a huge difference. And that's why he's here in this amazing role that he's in. I just want to throw that in there because I think he's being a little modest right now.
I love that teamwork. It speaks highly to your company, the fact that you called that out about Chris. So thank you. That's excellent. And Chris, cool thing. So you actually opened my eyes up a lot, Chris, to ServiceNow and why it's a great company to work for. So let me hear your pitch, because you gave me, you were running down things about the company that even in my research, I didn't know. So what's your pitch for ServiceNow?
Yeah, so like guys, women, you're out there listening. I just want you to know two things, right? If you're looking to come to a company where you can grow and really define your role, like we all got to come into entry-level role, wherever we at. But like at ServiceNow, it's a company where in the next 3 to 5 years, you can create your own role. You can create your own boundaries. So like, that's why when Jack tell his story about, Jack did not tell you guys that he did not graduate from Miles University, right? Like the fact that he dropped out and the fact that he like self-taught himself, and now 4 years later, he's a senior engineer, have a team, like that don't happen every day for Black people, right? Like, so the fact that his skill set and talent and ability, this is a company that really, if you believe in yourself and willing to come and put the work in, you're gonna get rewarded handsomely for that. So like, I just think like in today's time where we as minority want to go somewhere and feel that we have a say and can have an imprint, this is the perfect opportunity, the perfect place for you to do that. And I just like, so when you factor in, you look at that, you look at our benefits, you look at the culture where I'm from the South. So like I was kind of raised that you had to kind of have a suit, tie, blazer. Well, at ServiceNow, you see, we relax, we comfortable, right? Like that whole motto is like, be your authentic self. Like they mean that, right? So I think those things get overlooked. And then also the benefits, the health benefits, the cool thing, like, and I speak on this just from a mental health standpoint in today's climate, what's going on in the world, from the George Floyd to the Breonna Taylor to everything. Like, so currently right now, we got a thing in our program at ServiceNow where they give free mental counseling. Like, so I'm new here and I'm taking advantage of the free mental counseling. You get 25 slots a year to use just to talk to a therapist about whatever's going on. And I was like, wow, I was like, oh yeah, sign me up for that, right? Like, so I think today's world as a Black man, Black woman, there's so many issues that we have suppressed because we had to be the best to be the first generation of our family to go to school. We sending money back home to our mom, dad. We working 2 jobs to stay in school, right? These are all the things that, and on top of that, leading clubs, leading whatever, and some of us may not do all those things because we got all the stress, but like, I'm telling you, if you may only made a 2.7 GPA in college, I ain't worrying about that. I want you, if you hungry and you're gonna put in the work, you should apply. You should come here because like this job, you're gonna learn on the fly and be willing to put in the work. Like, so I want those kind of students. Like, I mean, the 4.0 people, that's great, whatever. But we take them too. But like, if you gonna put in the work, we're gonna roll up your sleeves. Those are the candidates I'm talking to.
Excellent. I appreciate the pitch.
That's on that one.
So we'll now go ahead and segue into sort of a panel discussion, conversation between HBCU Connect, sort of a rapid fire, where I want to ask the team collectively from ServiceNow a few questions so that the candidates out there that are watching, you guys can get a better idea of the company culture. And then after the panel discussion, we will go into the live Q&A. So you guys get your questions ready. You can ask those questions in the chat. And then I'll read those questions off to the members of the team. But first things first, let's have our panel discussion. So hope you guys are ready from the ServiceNow team. I'll direct some of these questions to the team. So anyone on the team that feels prepared to answer the question, feel free to speak up. Or I'll direct certain questions to specific members of the team. So first question I wanted to ask to give candidates a better idea of the company culture, the fact that most of the candidates on the call are African American, and they want to know if they can be themselves at the company or if they have to, to one of Chris's points earlier about coming from the South to put on a suit and that kind of thing. So if you guys feel that you can be yourself culturally speaking at the company, if someone can speak to that.
I can take that. I'll start by saying this. Chris is probably the only person at ServiceNow who wears a suit, right? So he's the exception. He's the exception to the rule. In terms of bringing your authentic self to work, this is me. Usually, I got my Black Lives T-shirt on. I'm at work every day. I'm doing the work that I want to do. I'll be 100% honest. ServiceNow is like every other tech company out there. The percentage of African Americans at ServiceNow is around 2%. It's terrible, right? And that's across all tech companies. Google's terrible, Facebook's terrible, LinkedIn is terrible. All the tech companies have this problem. But we're here. We're here because we care and we want people to join us. And we're here, we're doing these different events because we understand that like the typical recruiting process never got us what we wanted. So we're trying a different recruiting process. So yes, we want you to show up. We want you to be yourself. And more importantly, we want your own ideas, right? So the whole idea behind having diversity at work is companies that are more diverse perform better. Companies that are more diverse do a much better job, right? Like the company culture is amazing. I don't know. That's my point of view. I hope that answers the question.
So I got sort of a follow-up question. Speaking to, the numbers being low for representation amongst African American and even Latino employees at some of the tech companies, does ServiceNow have an ERG group or employee resource group for African Americans and different, folks that have different identification?
We do. So we meet every other Monday. There's about 150 people in the group. We do different events. We're still getting to know each other and so forth. But no, we have ERG groups for African Americans, the Latino community, LGBTQ. We have tons of ERG groups.
Excellent. So for the candidates that are on the call that are maybe not as familiar with the ERG groups and the value that they offer, so employee resource groups at some of these corporations and companies are where groups of folks that are either like-minded or culturally identify as a specific group like African American or Latinx or East Indian, for example, different cultural groups and groups that identify, even like LGBT, have employee resource groups at the company. And so they speak to and represent those groups with the company so that that group can have a voice at the company and affect change and a positive work atmosphere and productive work atmosphere for those different resource groups. So for those of you that are not familiar, that's what I mean when I say ERGs. And kudos to ServiceNow for having that in place. And I'm sure the interns can leverage that as well. So next question, and this question would be for Justin. So Justin, I'm going to ask you, what would you say for you are some of the unadvertised benefits of working for ServiceNow? Because you got your advertised benefits, you know, the pay and that kind of thing. But personally, what would you say are some of the unadvertised benefits?
That's a good one. Good unadvertised benefits.
And they can just be for you personally.
Yeah, no, I can speak on that. I think what's great about you know, when you have experience and you work with people and you get the opportunity to work with them again, as Sheikh mentioned too, you know, when you have experience where, like, for the person that brought me over to ServiceNow, I had worked closely with on a team before I got there, and you know, they always say that, you know, you really like working for the people that inspire you, right? And like look out for you, and the people that you do the best work with when you're following your managers, right? You don't always necessarily follow the company, you know? And so it's so important, because you'll find that in your career as you go from place to place. The people that I think stand out are those that you see yourself and that you would want to follow. And so when I came to ServiceNow, the person that I currently, that's my lead now, I work with. And I think what's great about coming to ServiceNow is he gives me space to kind of strategize, to give me space to think about how we can improve. And that's what I really value for myself, is that, like, I want to be at a place where I get support, I have vision, I have some runway that I could work with, and we're kind of all in it together. And there's humility amongst everybody, there's passion amongst everybody, and there's drive. And so I knew that combined with, like, where ServiceNow was at was really what inspired me to come. And that's why I think, outside of the benefit aspects, is I have the space to kind of to work, do it, you know, and work with a great team and be inspired.
Hey, well, I want to take a stab at that too.
Yeah.
I just kind of talk from a standpoint of, like, for 10 years I ran my own nonprofit, right? And I think, like, what turned me on to ServiceNow, I had another opportunity to work at Microsoft, and I turned that down to work at ServiceNow. But the most important, what sold me with ServiceNow was the fact that, like, they give you 20 hours to paid time off to serve any nonprofit or group that you want to work with. But more importantly, when they told me, where, Chris, you don't have to get rid of your nonprofit. Like, if that's, do what you do, as long as is no conflict of interest. So I was like, oh man. Like, so it was like an awesome experience. Just that was the driving force for me. Like, a lot of companies wanted my service, but they always tell me I had to get rid of TAP. So the fact that they say, no, man, TAP is what you do, whatever you, that's fine. You get 20 hours paid to do whatever you want to do if you want to help. So, like, I just thought that was just cool for them to recognize and say, hey, we understand what you bring to the table. We never want to diminish that. We need this help. Like, let's build something great together. So for the young people who's on the call, who listening, when you can go, and then the team, the people that I just been listening to, seeing, like, it's invaluable information, right? Like, invaluable people that you're working with day to day that you learning stuff from. And then be okay with being uncomfortable. Be okay with saying that you don't know. You like, I don't know everything. I'm just getting here, but, like, it's okay. And then it's okay to put the work in to get better, because that's only for a short period of time. So I think that's the value add.
I think that's awesome. You know, a company that recognizes the value that you add to the community through your nonprofit. Yeah, I totally understand. We have a similar story. I ended up doing Hbcu Connect instead of going to work for Microsoft back in the day. So no, that's cool. That speaks highly of the company culture there at ServiceNow. And so I want to direct this next question to Jack.
Yeah.
So Jack, what is one thing you wish you knew before you started working at ServiceNow?
There's not just one thing. Oh man, it's not just one thing. But I wouldn't say wish that I knew it because I don't have any regrets. That I think is counterproductive to what learning is. You learn through your failures, so you have to fail in order to learn. And I would say it would be, and part of what I want to communicate to the computer science people involved in programming in this call, there to me was a disconnect between what is expected to get to get to a certain level and what you're taught in school, and that's specifically how to program in a proficient manner. Um, I mean, like reading about algorithms and things like that, having personal projects, uh, having the I want to say being able to design as well. Actually, can I share my screen here? I
Go for
have
it.
a list
Go
of
for it.
resources that I have accumulated over the years because of just trying to learn as much as I can.
Yeah.
Let me do. Yeah. So these are a lot of the books that I've read over the past few years. I believe in order to learn, you must do three things: read what you want, see someone do it, and do it yourself. And being at ServiceNow, they really challenge you to live free, do what you want. And that, with that freedom comes responsibility and choice. You have to be able to execute what you say you want to execute. And with that, you have to constantly grow. Part of what I do, there is no one programming language that I know or use. It's everything. You have a goal and you do and learn what you need to accomplish that goal. So as far as what I wish I would have known, um, what I know now, just earlier, just having what I'm giving to you right now. These are a lot of the books that I've read just to help get me started in automation, understanding programming in general, learning about operating systems that we have like Linux, Red Hat, or CentOS. All of these books, databases, what site reliability engineering really is, um, effective DevOps, just understanding how an enterprise or an infrastructure is actually created. There's a lot more to just building software. We now live in a place where a million people can touch anything. So you now have to design and build with a million people plus maybe touching your product at one time. And I'm sure, Will, you can attest to that. I'm sure when you started, did you see, the audience that you have now? Another one here, this is part of so we have reading about what you need to know. And the websites here are the resources I use to practice, and the YouTube channels I have on this side is what I use to see other people doing this. Again, as Chris mentioned, I dropped out. I could not afford college, amongst other things. It was just, I didn't understand. I wasn't learning what I wanted to learn for what I wanted to do. And that was a lot of like mobile development at the time. Databases, all the things that we do here, they're not even teaching like AI, a lot in colleges, especially HBCUs. And it's not because they just don't have the capacity. It's just technology evolves so fast,
Yeah.
like way too fast. Not even the government catches up with it, So as individual engineers, we have to be able to teach ourselves. We have to leverage the power of knowing how to learn. So the sites I recommend, of course, Geeks for Geeks and LeetCode are my two favorite. Those two websites, you can learn a lot about what you would need in the particular language you're learning, or and data structures and algorithms. I keep saying that. It's huge. It's huge because you have to build efficient code. And LeetCode is the way you practice these things. It's especially for interview questions. If you're ever wondering, okay, how do I pass a technical interview? Geeks for Geeks, LeetCode has all of the answers that you would need. Yes. And man, if I had that when I first started, I think, I don't know. I think it would have made it a lot better. I'm pretty content with how my life panned out. But
Oh yeah.
definitely, I encourage all of you to screenshot this. If you can, check it out. You won't regret it. A lot of what is, oh yeah, another thing too is having projects for yourself as well. You know, you don't want to just learn what you know at school and then just do school projects. You know, what are you passionate about? Who are you? You know, programming is just an extension of you. Anything you know is an extension of you. It's how you implement it as well that best express who you are. And as employers, this is what we look for. How do you express yourself? Coding, it's a science just like art. It's a science just like any other. And the way you cultivate that power is shown in how you express that. And these are good ways to not only learn what's out there, but how you can make it your own. Um, and as far as ServiceNow specifically, if you want to get a heads up on that, highly recommend ServiceNow, the Dev Program YouTube channel. We have demos that you can use and download, or not download, but you can get access to a demo instance and see ServiceNow for yourself. And these YouTube channels, I use them to this day to help educate me on certain things or learn about more about the platform and what else I need to do. Because you essentially have to be a full stack developer and more. Not that it's just impossible to do. It's just technology is so vast. There's so much information out there. There's so much we can do now. And we owe it to ourselves to do just that. You know, you don't have to wait for an internship to do whatever you want. You can make your app now. You can make your website now. You can do anything you would do in a company now. You know, there are, for all those who are looking for cheaper alternatives, you know, you can get, you know, Raspberry Pi, you know, $30. And that right there, a $30 computer, you can use to, I used it to block all the ads from my entire network, you know, so I don't have ads, you know, or manage my books, you know, for my kids. I homeschool, so I often have books for them there. You know, it's whatever you want to create, do it. You don't have to wait at all. And that's one thing I really wish I learned earlier, but I did have to learn that just through trial and error. And there's nothing wrong with that, but you are having the resources now. Take advantage of things like this. Don't sit on this. You know, really, the tech industry is wide open. You know, ServiceNow, there's so much work that can be done, you know. And to answer the other question, I did want to answer the question before this as well. Part of one of the benefits that I love about this company are things like this. You know, we have the leverage, the freedom to not only be our authentic selves, but we can give back to the community with the backing of a multi-billion-dollar company. You know, where most companies or industries have written us off, we have the leverage here to give back. You know, we did this on our own. This wasn't just ServiceNow just saying, okay, well, we got to meet quota. You know, we saw a need and we knew how hard it was for each of us, and we want to make it easier for those who come after.
I can speak to that personally because actually Mr. Kamara reached out to me directly to kind of forge this relationship. That absolutely speaks to the company's commitment to diversity.
Oh yeah, and travel. I never thought I visit. You know, like I've been to India, you know, UK, you know, Paris. It's great. It changes your life. I guarantee it. So yeah, I love this company, and as long as you have the grit to make it happen, no excuses. There isn't anything you can't do.
That's
anywhere.
Excellent. So I want to go ahead and give the candidates some time to ask questions in the chat. I saw the most recent question was from Sydney Jackson, and that question was, how does management set up employees for success? I guess for new interns that might be coming in, or new employees that are coming in. What is the structure that is in place to help new employees be successful?
I can take that. A couple of things. So for interns, we're what's it called? The goal is for you to come and have a project and actually accomplish something while you're here, right? Like the goal is not for you to show up here, get someone coffee for 6 months, and then go home and be like, oh, I interned at ServiceNow. No, we have specific projects that we want interns to do. Those projects are presented to our executive staff. I think there's like a challenge that we run, and then we actually like pick a winner and so forth. So from an internship standpoint, we actually we want to make sure you have an amazing experience, that you learn a lot, that you meet a lot of people, and you actually have something you can go backwards and say, hey, I accomplished X, right? From if you're coming in as a professional, we do the general onboarding as well, but I think more importantly, we train our managers so that they're ready to kind of train their employees. So we want to make sure you have a 30, 60, and 90-day plan. We want to make sure you have one-on-one with your managers. We want to make sure you have your goals and priorities. We want to make sure it's very clear to you what success looks like, right? And that's not just ServiceNow, but wherever you go, you want to make sure you're very clear on what success looks like, and you and your manager are on the same page in terms of how you get there. So we work quite a bit with our managers to make sure they're ready to have those conversations with the people that come in, because that's critical to everyone's success. So we do a lot of training for our managers as folks come in.
Excellent. So the follow-up part of that question was, if someone can share their greatest accomplishment since they've been either on a team level or on an individual level since they've been with the company, something that somebody's really proud of from accomplishment.
Let me get this one. So I coming to ServiceNow, I started off as a contractor. You know, like I said before, it was like 3 to 6 months contract, and eventually I worked my way to becoming full time. But it was because of the just constantly trying to find a way to make things better that led me to learn scripting languages like JavaScript, Python, HTML, CSS, and because I have a background in systems engineering, so I was already familiar with CentOS and Linux and how to build that infrastructure. So it's now being able to automate tasks that is based around that. So the department I was in at the time, we did a lot of scheduled maintenances, and it was a lot of them. I mean, thousands in a day. I mean, imagine having to spend your day renaming someone's website, but you have like 1,000 websites to rename. And it's not just, hey, let me just rename here. No, you have to change the back end. You got to log into the database. The process takes like an hour for each company to rename. So I end up building automations based on this process. And of course, I'm teaching myself to trial and error. I failed, but then I used that to succeed. And of course, because of this, I was able to relieve a lot of my coworkers from having to do redundant work, and we were able to do what we want to do. And it got to the point where the department was actually moved. It changed entirely. I mean, it was moved from sustained operations to site reliability engineering, and because of that, it was the beauty of seeing hard work drastically have a change on the company overall, because we manage the back end, you know, so if anything happens to the servers, it's on us to fix that. And I'm very proud of that, because it showed a way to continuously improve not only yourself, but your platform and your team. And I got a nice little award for it too, you know? Yeah.
Employee of the year.
You know,
I think that's awesome. Did someone else want to share?
I'm gonna share one. Let me share my screen real quick, because I think this is super relevant to like the time.
Yes, sir. Go for it.
Okay, so my team, we build applications, right? So once COVID hit and everyone had to go home, a lot of companies went out and had what's it called? Public statements and all these other things. But hey, we have all these amazing apps that can help you return back to work. We started from scratch, and by mean from scratch, I still have the email and the Slack channel that I created to put 10 engineers on the Slack channel and say, hey, what are the apps that we can create and how quickly can we create these? And from that Slack channel to the moment when these apps were live, so these apps are contact tracing, your ability to see who checked in, who's got what, who sits where. I mean, everything a company needs to go back to work after COVID was all the testing. This is 0 to the app being out and available into someone's environment in 30 days, right?
You guys
So
built
this
that in 30 days?
in 30 days. So we pinged, what's it called? I think it was 25 engineers, put them in a Slack channel. I would love to say that like, I'm like Jack, I'm smart, I understand coding. I don't, right? Like I'm a strategy guy. I can find the right people to put in the right room for them to get things done. But from 0 to getting these things out, and initially when we published them, they were free. So if you went, for example, on the City of LA's website and you looked at like their COVID dashboard that said powered by ServiceNow, putting all these apps out, 30 days. Everything was, not only was everything out, it was on our platform that we essentially sell everything through. And most of these apps were free. I don't know if they're still free, but they were free. So when you think of like the successes of a company, it's really, hey, what are the customer problems we're trying to solve? Who are our best people that we can put together to get this out? And let's get all the overhead out of the way so they can create these amazing apps. And this is what I meant earlier by like, you want to go to a company where you can really influence the work that's being done and you can participate on some amazing projects, right? This one is super relevant now because we're all stuck at home. We're hoping to go back to work someday. Well, some of us are hoping to go back to work in the office someday, but this gives you an idea of how powerful the ServiceNow platform is.
Oh yeah,
and what we're able to accomplish.
that's dope. Excellent example. So that kind of leads to a couple of questions that the candidates have had around technology that's used. So I see there's a platform. Obviously, that platform allows you guys to develop apps rapidly. So what are some of the technologies that are being used? So the specific question was around C++, the tech stack that you guys use, and then even someone that has Java experience. What are some of the technologies you guys use to develop the application and the products that you guys deliver?
Yeah, I can answer that. Let me share my screen, please. As far as the tech stack, this is just a little bit of what we use, but you would be pretty good just knowing a good bit of all of these here. So the front end, of course, is more so HTML, CSS, and JavaScript and Angular. They're really most of the libraries in JavaScript we use. It just depends on the need. The platform is just that flexible. For a lot of the work I do, sometimes I'm using jQuery just to react to the UI fast, or sometimes I'm using AngularJS to better connect to the DB. It also depends on the customer too. So especially for backend, so we may use MariaDB or Mongo or Oracle. It just depends on who the customer is. So we are expected to not only, we're expected to build, not build, but just understand how to traverse their database. So, and this leads to the like math and stuff like that. As far as understanding from a data science standpoint, having Java experience, if you understand design patterns, that'll get you really far. Design patterns and data structures, specifically arrays and linked lists. Arrays and linked lists, especially because of how we deal with data. A lot of our work is built from tables that we reference somewhat directly. So you would have to deal with a lot of table calls and things like that. Being able to make a lot of REST calls, depending on where you're transferring the data. I guess it's vague, but the company is really that large where different teams program differently. Like for example, Java is what our main platform, or the source code of our platform, is built on. However, since I'm maintaining it, I don't do a lot with Java, but being able to read the source code in Java, it allowed me to better understand the platform and how it works. So I also recommend Python as well, because it's a good way for just ease of use. It's a really good way of doing things that you may not want to do manually, or if you need to prototype some ideas. I highly recommend understanding unit testing as well. So for those with programming experience that's looking to get into machine learning and AI, I highly recommend linear algebra and some basic statistics. If you understand big O notation or just time and space complexity, that would be huge. That is how we measure how fast your code works. I mean, it's a standard practice anywhere, but that'll get you a very long way. You don't have to learn too much math, but the more math you know, the better. In machine learning though, yeah, it's all math. So I'm just saying, like, as far as like data structures and algorithms, and then just machine learning specifically. AI is not really, like, it's a buzzword. It's a topic that engulfs multiple subjects, yeah. Right? Like machine learning, and then inside machine learning, there's deep learning. And we don't do a lot with deep learning yet, but the machine learning part of it, that's all math. So algorithms I recommend knowing is like k-means, let's see, naive Bayes.
You're making my computer science degree obsolete.
I mean, and these are things I'm constantly trying. I'm improving as well on this. So it's not like you have to be a straight up expert. The entire field is relatively new in this aspect. But it's just, that'll get your foot in the door, being able to process information like that. Natural language processing would be ideal. Again, for all you Java developers, there's a machine learning library called Weka, W-E-K-A. They have a GUI and then a API that you can use in Java. However, I recommend you understand a lot of like binary searching techniques. I mean, I keep going back to data structures and algorithms. Know those things like the back of your hand. It may be like on the last few chapters of the textbook. It's more important than object-oriented principles. Sure. It really is. I mean, because you can develop without data structures and algorithms, but you want to be a good developer. I mean, imagine writing code that only 10 people can use and then it breaks. You want to be able to scale your application very fast. And there are just some basic principles that you'll need to know.
Excellent. So I know that we're getting some questions about the interview process, and we've got about 6 minutes left on the presentation. So if it's okay, we'll go ahead and pivot the conversation to the process, the interview process, and the internship program itself. So Justin, I wanted to kind of give the floor to you to speak to what candidates need to know to get in process, and then once they are in process, what they can expect.
Yeah, sure. Good question, Will. So the links that we've been sharing are typically made specifically for this event. So the whole purpose is that that's our way of tracking everyone from this event. So if and I can reshare them again. But if you can apply directly to those links, that will be inserted into our process attached to this particular event, and we will give as much kind of attention and that we can to get people in process.
And if you can share those with me, I'll make sure to email them out to all the candidates that weren't able to make it as well.
Yeah, perfect. And our process is ongoing. And this is going to be. We're going to be this past summer, we were recruiting all the way up until almost May. So this is a very long process. We'll continue to kind of be in process for the remainder of the fall and the spring. I'd say on average, the process can range between about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, getting in and kind of meeting with the teams and getting in process. And making that, we're trying our best to kind of get people in as quick as possible, but that's what I would say would be as a benchmark on timelines perspective. And I think we approach it in 2 different ways. So for the fall, we kind of like to try to get as many people in process before the holiday break, and then if people can kind of go into that holiday break with some kind of offer is what we would prefer. And then as we transition to the new year, we try to do the same thing where, we keep having people in process throughout the winter and the spring, and hopefully we'll have like a pretty substantial cutoff to where like, hey, this is where we're going to kind of stop and kind of start prepping for the summer internship. So I think of it in kind of two phases that way. And that's kind of the timeline and breakdown. I guess I would explain it as. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, and I had a couple of, I just want to make sure all the candidates are clear on the internships for 2021. Are the internships, are you guys expecting that those internships will be remote or virtual, or will there be locations where the candidates will work from?
Yeah, so at the moment we are planning for the reality that we're in right now. And that is to keep a remote internship. You know, if that changes, if things with our, you know, the state of affairs with COVID changes, you know, we will be able to maybe have people in person. But as of right now, you know, we're set to be remote until at least June of next year at ServiceNow. And so in one way, this could be a real beneficial opportunity for folks. You know, if you're not, you know, if moving to California seems like a hard thing to do, this could be a great opportunity to actually stay where you are right now and experience this virtual opportunity with us. So that's why I know there's the common thread of today is to apply as much as possible and to really take advantage of this opportunity.
And then one more logistical question that I'm sure will come up is, how long are the internships, and then what is usually the start and ending time frame?
Yeah, so the internship runs 12 weeks, and we have pretty much 2 start dates. So we have a start date that's around mid-May, and I can follow up with you, Will, and get you like the exact date after this call. And then we have one that's around the mid-June, and that's really just because there's some people who are on quarter systems and there's some people who are on semester systems. So we just want to make sure, and basically they kind of overlap, right? You'll have some folks that are about 4 weeks ahead, and then you'll have the next group that starts, and that's just really just because of like school calendar breakdown. But it is 12 weeks long, and it starts from either May or June, depending on when your school year ends, yep. And goes either to August or September.
Excellent. Okay, so I'll ask you, Justin, to email me the links, and then I'll email the links to all of the candidates that were on the call and those that were not. So if you're watching this, you can expect an email from us with those links to where you can apply to the different opportunities. And then I'll also follow up or be a communication conduit for you guys at ServiceNow to the HBCU Connect candidates. But we're just about out of time, but I wanted to give the final, say on the floor to Mr. Kamara and or Mr. Rogers to kind of close out the evening here.
I just want to say thank you. I see there's like 50 people that showed up today. Thank you for taking the time to come learn about ServiceNow. We know we're not a household name yet, but we're marching in that direction. We're an amazing company. We're looking for young folks like you to come join us, whether it's internships or full-time jobs. Please reach out. My name's in here somewhere, Sheikh Kamara. Make sure we connect on LinkedIn. If you have questions, let me know. Happy to help. But more importantly, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to come and work with us. Thank you, Will, for helping us put this together. Like you said, from just pinging him on LinkedIn and saying, hey, I want to do this. Let's get this going. To getting here, it was an amazing experience. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Will, for taking the time. I appreciate it as well. It's super important for us, and I'm glad that we can establish a relationship, and I hope we can continue to move forward and to do some real cool stuff.
Absolutely, it's been a pleasure. Chris, did you have any final words?
Hey, I'm just gonna go ahead and let my boy talk to you. You know what I'm saying? Hey, this ServiceNow, man. This is where we at. Hey, you want to be where everything about to change? You come join us, man. Look, apply. So look forward to you joining us. Go ahead.
I thought you were going to say a rap for us.
Nah, I ain't gonna do no rap. I'm gonna let Baby talk to you. You know, he got us. Hey, they know what that is.
No, thank you, everybody. To all the students that joined us, thank you for taking the time out. This obviously, as you can see, this is a great company that values diversity. They forged a relationship. They reached out to us here at HBCU Connect to get in touch with more HBCU students, more minority candidates. So, make sure to take advantage and apply for the positions that we're going to send over via email. Make sure to tell your friends that are on campus that are looking for internships. Make sure to tell them about ServiceNow. And yeah, this is HBCU Connect. Get connected. We'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.
Thank you.
Stay free, good people.
Take care.